Again and again, reincarnation, cause and effect, all these teachings of the Buddha, he taught, not because that's how it is in the ultimate truth. Remember, always this. Okay, now this is probably another way, this is another difficulty with studying Buddhism. Because when you study Buddhism, you have to almost study within the framework of relative truth and ultimate truth. This is very, very sort of classic Indian way of talking. Okay, talking about the relative truth and ultimate truth. Big challenge, this one. Okay, just give you one example. Actually, there's many difficulties. Difficulty one is this. When we talk about relative truth, okay, this is what you want to talk about, relative truth. Unconsciously, you bring the ultimate analytical method. This is problem number one. On the other hand, when we talk about the ultimate truth, not being able to let go the relative truth, the habit of the relative truth. Problem number two. And we always forget that relative truth and ultimate truth are both within the relative truth. This will be problem number three. The next one is the biggest problem. The fourth problem is the biggest problem. Every time we talk about the true truth, we forget that they are in union. It's really difficult because, the dualistic habit which shapes your intellectual mind just will not do this, it won't manage to sort of slice and cut these things. It's difficult. And besides, there are so many valuable things also in our life that we value. Like morality, wow, that's very valuable. You don't want to bring ultimate truth, analytical mind into this too much. Sorry? Analytical system of ultimate truth, you don't want to bring into morality too much. Because then morality, crumbles. Shunyata, in its absolute, the full level, in America, right now, if you teach, you will be categorized into criminal. In America, ethics, morality are so important. Pluralism, justice, so important. Freedom of speech, so important. Those are valuable, so valuable. You know what? Innocent until proven guilty. Wow, so important. And not only the, general Americans or general mundane people, but also Buddhists. Buddhists also have a lot of valuable things. Discipline. Discipline, very important. Cause and effect, so important, isn't it? No, that one, you don't want to touch. But as I'm saying, if you use the analytical method to understand the ultimate truth to the cause and effect logic crumbles. And within this section, reincarnation. You talk about reincarnation, for the Tibetans especially, reincarnation is, and the Buddhists, traditional Buddhists, reincarnation is so important. Okay. That's why, some people are becoming, making a big hoo-ha about, reincarnation. So, this is why, to study Buddhism, you have to study the framework, how they study the nature of the phenomena. the sort of the Buddhist framework, and one of the most important framework is relative truth and ultimate truth. And I want to talk a little bit about these two truths, especially relative truth. And I want to use an old text. I will just quote a few. And the reason why I want to do this is because some of you may think, oh, you know, some of this sounds very modern. It's actually maybe he made it up. No, I didn't make it up. This is a text, and I had to do this. Instead of, you know, again, if I brought a text from, you know, Nagarjuna or Chandrakirti, of course you would think, oh, this is those classic Buddhist, whatever, you know, philosopher. But I didn't. This is a text discovered as a treasure teaching by a treasure discoverer. So I'm, you know, sort of bringing completely non-academic, non-intellectual person called Trengpo Terchen Sherpa, who is like the guru of Jigme Lingpa. I'm going to quote him. Okay? In the absolute level, there is no such thing as relative truth and ultimate truth. But since you say you are suffering, and I guess you are suffering, and looks like you want to get out of suffering, and you are asking me how to do that, I have no choice but to tell you, you should understand truth. Even as I say this, I don't believe. There is a truly existing truth. So, since you look like a dimwit, is it? Dimwit. Since I realized that I have to sort of talk about relative truth and ultimate truth kind of categorization. Because you are a dimwit, and I feel for you. So there's something called a relative truth, which is false, not ultimate, not the real, you know, not absolute, you know, faulty. Zumba, lua, so. Zumba, you know, lie, lua, deceptive. And then there's the ultimate truth, which is, okay, first the relative truth. So, again, to define what is relative truth, and I think this is so really good. Four categories, four elements of definition. What makes a relative truth? Okay, in hierarchy, the first one being probably the least important, the last one being the most important. First one, consensus, agreement. That decides what's the relative truth. Before I jump into this, he also divides the relative truth to two, valid and invalid. And we are talking about valid relative truth. Second element is that phenomena, do you know how to say this? Like can perform, can be useful?
It affects karmic consequences.
It affects consequences. Sort of, it has the, you know, like a coffee machine that it, you know, like the glass. It has a purpose, it serves a purpose, it is usable. That's one. Third one, pay attention, so important. Anything that is within the sphere of a cause, condition, and effect, it's relative truth. This is important, you need to know to study Buddhism. Materialist, I don't think for them it is the ultimate here. And the fourth one, this one, why not? I'm talking to Mr. Gombrich. Gombrich, doesn't matter. Because I talked with Gombrich hours and hours and hours. And he proudly, you know, we were arguing, and he was proudly talking about Karl Popper, right? Karl Popper. The theory of falsifiability, right? Falsifiable. And here, I have to say this very loudly to the British. Long before Karl Popper, falsifiability is the fourth, the most important element of the relative truth. Right? Anything that you can falsify, basically, by analyzing, by hammer, whatever. You understand? Anything that you can analyze and prove this is not the real, this is not the real McCoy, right? This is not the real thing. That is relative truth. Okay? Going back to reincarnation, fits with this, valid relative truth. Consensus, cause and condition. What was it?
Purpose.
Purpose, yes. Yeah, we will talk about that purpose later. I know you have a little bit of a problem with that one. I will talk about this later, after food, I think. Actually, yes. See, I can say after the food we can talk. Do these people believe in continuity as a relative truth? I know continuity is falsifiability and falsifiable. Because if our materialist, Abrahamic residual Buddhists are saying that continuity is invalid, you have to be careful, because if this kind of concept comes, you can never ever lock a murderer into a prison. Because at 1 o'clock he commits the murder, 2 o'clock judge is still reading the court case, 3 o'clock, it's a different being. It's a different being. Of course, I'm not saying that just because it is usable, it is ultimate truth. I'm not saying that. Okay, I think I'm becoming a little bit fanatical here, so I should stop.